All right, so we've decided on United Aholes that we really need to have lighter topics. We need to stick to the comedy because we think that's what people are looking for. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about gun control.
This is United Aholes, a video cast discussing cultural topics with no filter.
Welcome back to Area 41, Charlton Heston's favorite spot on the internet.
Put my coat in.
Oh, wow.
Ron.
Is Charlton Heston in the room?
I feel like he's joined the conversation. So, we're going to talk about what I would consider to be a fairly heavy subject in today's climate, although I don't know if we're going to go where you think we're going to go. So we have a special guest tonight. His name's Jeremy Rattray. Jeremy, would you like to say anything about the subject that we're discussing?
Well, I'm not here to convince anyone they should own a gun or convince anyone I don't think owning a gun is even a right per se. Maybe more of a privilege, kind of like driving. But, you know, with the looming election and a lot of Mr. I probably shouldn't insult the Prime Minister, Mr. Dress Up, sorry, Trudeau. There's a lot of virtue signaling and rhetoric around firearms, and it's, in my opinion, a lot of the measures the Liberal government are claiming they're going to take isn't targeting the right group of people. And because legal owning, people who own firearms legally and go through the process to be able to have the privilege to buy a firearm, it's not as easy as the Liberals make it out to be.
Right.
It's pretty complicated in Canada. And I know one guy has a pal, so he understands the process of doing it. I actually have a RPAL, which is a restricted possession and acquisition license, which is an even further
it's
process to get. And by having a restricted possession and acquisition license, I've actually given up certain civil liberties that you guys wouldn't have given up.
You're subject to a search, correct?
I'm subject to search and inspection of my firearms without a warrant.
Right.
And in fact, sex offenders in Canada have more protection against that than I do.
Jesus.
So it's kind of a...
Yeah, it makes you kind of...
Kind of like, I feel a bit like I could, you know, I don't feel like a second-class citizen, but a lot of firearms owners would use that term.
Right.
So what are the laws currently, and what is it that the Liberals are introducing that's the issue?
Well, I'm not going to get into what the laws are because the Firearms Act is very convoluted and long. I left you out of it.
How many pages?
That's contact.
193 pages.
We read through,
today.
We skipped through it today at work. We probably spent 35, 40 minutes going through what we could, parts that we were curious about.
Yeah. No, I didn't do that at work. I don't know what you're talking about.
We did it on our own free time.
That's right.
Of our own
Lunch hour.
But by reading through it, we had the realization that even within what I thought I knew very well, I wasn't aware of certain things. And there was some stuff in there that was like kind of telling. Like, it's way more complicated and difficult to own a firearm in Canada than what I even assumed. And I thought I knew how complicated it was and how restrictive it was already. But there was a rule in there if you are suspected is the term, of owning 10 firearms, regardless of RPAL or regular, you're subject to that search that he was talking about. Yeah. So the I can't remember the term was for the firearms official that would show up.
Chief Firearms Officer.
Right.
Each province has its own.
He can show up at your door.
Appointed position.
He can show up at your door, knock, non-forced entry, knock and state for a search to inspect that you're following all the regulations and rules. You know, trigger locks, case locks, gun cabinets, weapons not loaded, blah, blah, whatever.
Right.
If I didn't go as far as to research what would happen if you refused entry, but I can imagine it would not be good.
They're going to come back with a police officer.
Right.
And
forcefully come in then at that point with what requirements they would have to get into your house.
Yeah.
So it's way more protective than what we realize for a legal gun owner, which I would argue is the reason that you're probably upset with the Liberals' decisions because they should be going after the illegal gun owners, correct?
Yeah, because like the source of gun violence isn't me, and isn't the very vast majority of legal firearms owners. Whether you're an R PAL holder or a regular PAL holder, and there's a third class of license too, which gives you the ability to own a prohibited firearm, which would be a
Fully
gun.
automatic.
No, not fully automatic. No, it might be a pistol that's shorter. I think 108 millimeters is the barrel length, which would have been one of the firearms that was kind of rounded up in 1991 when they completely revamped the Firearms Act.
Right.
They basically the government created a list of firearms. They were going to call them prohibited. They were going to call them restricted. And they're going to call them non-restricted. And actually, at that time, the AR-15 was not a restricted firearm. That came later.
Right.
But yeah, so if you have the third license, you can own a prohibited. And now you can't go buy a prohibited one. It would be something that might be bequeathed to you from your father or a relative, and it has to be a relative.
Right.
To be able to get a prohibited firearm left to you in a bequeathed to you in a will or whatever. So that's one of the few ways to be able to even apply for a prohibited firearms license. Short of, I think the only other option is if you're a collector.
So in the interest of people watching this that are curious, I think, and you guys can agree or disagree with me with this exercise.
I disagree.
I hate
The
exercise.
funny stuff is coming real soon. I swear you're going to be busting a gut.
Walk us through the process from someone who doesn't have a PAL or RPAL.
If I wanted to go get a gun
What
legally,
is required? What's
Okay.
the process? So try to make it a Cole's Notes as
Okay.
possible, but
Well, first guy
I'll
to bring homework on the show.
I would make the
right here.
prediction.
Oh my God, you brought copies.
I'll just hand them that. That's the
We're all gonna get one.
That's the actual application for a PAL, a possession.
How many
acquisition
pages
license.
is it?
It's very similar to a passport application.
okay, yeah.
Very similar. It has a bunch of pages of directions of
It's-
how to fill it out, and then you fill it out.
Gotta have your picture taken.
But so
8
Cole's
pages.
Notes. The first thing you have to do is do a hunter safety course. So
Yeah, actually.
let's just say we're gonna do a PAL, not an RPAL, or we can do an RPAL. I guess it's just an extra step. So let's say we're gonna do the
So
RPAL.
there used to be
So half of it is.
a level below PAL, which was just PL.
Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
No.
You have to have acquisition to have
Yeah,
possession.
possession and acquisition license.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first step is you have to contact the University of Moncton if you live in New Brunswick and get signed up for the firearm safety course. And if you're going to do the RPAL, you get signed up for the second restricted firearm safety course. You're gonna commit to 2 weekends, and you're gonna pay them money. I
Right.
don't remember the exact fees. I think it's upwards of $100 or something like that if you do them both. So they're gonna sign you up, send you a book, and then you're gonna wait for the course to become available in your area, or maybe if you want to go to Fredericton, you're gonna get in quicker because they do more courses there. So you're gonna go to an auditorium or something, and there's gonna be a couple volunteers that are gonna go through the book, and they're gonna teach you firearm safety, like proper handling, storage, and a lot of the ins and outs of the document I sent you guys. Like,
Right.
it's gonna basically kind of go through the finer points of the laws, and you're not gonna come out of there an expert on the Firearms Act, but you're gonna know enough to keep yourself out of trouble.
Right.
So you're going to do the first course, you're going to do the second course. Once you have those courses, you get your certificate, then you can do that application.
Is there a test at the end of the course?
Yeah.
No, just an attendance thing.
There's 2 tests.
There's a physical.
There's a written test and a practical exam.
Right.
So the written test is the multiple choice, that you'd expect. The practical exam is you have to display proper handling of a firearm, and they have actual firearms there, but they've all been made inoperable in some way,
So
shape,
nobody
or
shoots
form.
himself in
No,
the
there'd be
face.
no ammunition there or anything like that. But the guns, the rifles and pistols or whatever they
Well,
would
that's
have
no
there
fun at
are
all.
they aren't able to be.
Come on.
They aren't able to
No
be fired,
danger, no
so.
fun.
I got to spend the whole weekend learning about firearms, and there's no
Yeah.
bullets in the gun.
2 days, but I'm angry
So they're
now.
checking for stuff like this. Is this thing on?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but even though the firearms are safe to handle and point at somebody, you're to treat them as an actual firearm.
Absolutely.
You're like during the course, it's like if you point that rifle or pistol at somebody, even in an accident, you fail.
Yeah,
Yeah, do it again. Period. There's certain things in the
There's
course.
no the curve.
No.
So what you're saying is getting a firearm is fairly difficult and a lengthy process.
Yeah. So once you get the courses under your belt, you're going to get your certificates that you've completed the course. Then you can do the application.
How often do you have to renew?
4 years.
Okay.
Every 4 years.
Like
So
our
once your application is submitted, you're going to wait probably anywhere from 3 to 6 months for it to come back. If you do a regular firearms, like the regular PAL, they're probably not going to call your references because you have to provide references and you have to provide any spouses.
I was gonna say, my prediction would be Ken and Josh would not be able to get a PAL because Josh has a ex that would probably say no.
Yeah, and that's
that would
I
be
was.
enough for you to not get one.
Yeah, I was just going there.
And Ken's on record for having strange women in his house early
Yeah,
in the
that's
morning.
right, that's
and
right.
exposes himself to them.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't.
I mean, you do it to your
Lies.
friends.
Law.
Who knows how far that
So
is?
yeah, you got to provide references and your past partners, anyone in the past 3 years, like for like a what's the
For
word?
spouses.
Conjugal partner.
relationship.
Past 3 years, conjugal partners. So, and if one of them want to mess around with you, well, you're fucked. Like you're not like if you don't.
Man, I'm good.
If you
You're
miss,
good. Yeah.
if there's one little thing through that application, you're probably not going to get it. And if you do have some sort of criminal record, there is a question there and you have to divulge it. You have to say, yes, I've been convicted, and you have to explain what the conviction was for and whatever, they give you a little chance to give an explanation. You're probably not going to get it.
So,
but if
reading
you
the
do,
Firearms Act today, it sounds like there's a regulation that anyone can oppose you getting a PAL if they know about it and want to file a complaint, and that is enough for you to not get a PAL. So if I heard that you were applying and I wanted to be an asshole, I know it's surprising, but it could happen. I could write a complaint saying I don't believe Brent should have a firearm because I think he's going to use it for a violent reason,
So if
and that is enough suspicion.
if you're applying for a PAL, don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Shut up.
if you,
So okay, and now this is getting really strange because they're talking about. So if anybody you have had sex with, is what they're saying.
well, if you,
We don't-
if you find in the
we
application,
don't need to use soft words on
any
United.
I don't think having sex
well, I
with
think
someone
I don't
being
think
in a
it's like anyone you've had
relationship
sex. I think it's any conjugal partner you've lived with in the last 3 years.
Okay, so spouse, as I said earlier.
Okay.
So it is. It's
I didn't think living with was a requirement.
I think
The way
it
it
is.
was worded, I didn't think it was.
I think you have to share. I think you have to share
So
address.
you've cohabitated with somebody, and they know that one day you snapped.
it would
your
give
shit.
the explanation there, but
Yeah.
either way, whether you have to live with them or not, you had to provide conjugal partners for the last 3 years.
So-
I think it's people you've actually lived with. I think.
Just talking about that form alone, forget everything else. Are you fine with that? The way that they go about.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a
have
bad
no.
No,
I don't. For the most part, I have no issue with the current Canadian firearms regulations as they stand.
Right.
I'm not the guy that wants to do a concealed carry. I'm not even completely against long gun registration when it was in. Like when I got my PAL, the long gun registration was in place.
Right.
So I went into it knowing that I had to register that shotgun I bought because I wanted to start bird hunting again.
Right. Yeah.
It was abolished. I don't know, a year or so later.
Right.
And I was like, well, whatever. But I wasn't, like, if I wasn't okay with it, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Right.
But there's another side to that coin, and a lot of the firearms advocates or a lot of people who own firearms are scared of long gun registrations or any registration because that's the first step to confiscating your gun. Right?
That's if they know where I keep it.
Well, try to hide it, a registered gun, and when they want it back, and good luck to you. I'll see you in 3 years because that's a minimal sentence for firearms. Most firearms related offenses, 3 years federal penitentiary.
Do you think that stuff like this, if it's ramped up, will push people more towards illegal firearm?
I don't think you could ramp it up anymore.
Okay. No, but if they with what they're talking about though is what I mean.
So
if it gets tougher, are people going to start sliding under the radar more, or trying to slide under the radar more than what they do now?
No, because I'm gonna do what I have to do to own my rifles.
Yeah, just to continue with your
And,
sport.
and
because
most
that's-
people in my position are going to do that. I think in fair, like knowing a lot of other people that shoot and own firearms, and like I'm gonna do what I have to do up to a certain point, short of them taking them from me. Right. But like the thing is like the firearms laws in Canada, as I said, are pretty strict. And you guys looked at the act and everything, and you probably agree with me. They're pretty strict, and there's a lot of like little nuances to it, like any law. And there's a lot of ways that, like, as a firearms owner, I can just get screwed over royally because somebody decides they don't like me.
Right. They could lodge a complaint.
And especially being an RPAL holder. Like, as an RPAL holder, I have a RCMP criminal check done on me every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Holy fuck.
Systematically, yeah.
Yeah. Every day.
So all our PAL holders
So it's
are
an automated
registered.
system that goes through and goes.
All our PAL holders are registered in this system.
Yeah.
It does a search every day and kicks out any names that show up on the list of like infraction at our PAL, and then you can expect a visit.
So what's an infraction?
Well, anything that would
You
go
would-
against the Firearms Act would be the
Okay.
first step, but
Any
even
act of violence.
Speeding
Okay, so
ticket.
you're in a bar
like,
fight.
if
Potentially.
The cops get called. Okay.
DUI,
Absolutely.
red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Smoking marijuana in public.
I couldn't give you a list of what would bring
Yeah.
it, but of course, there's pretty odd, like
given me some
violent
examples.
crimes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we read the act today, and one of the things that we were surprised by is an infraction against the Cannabis Act
Yeah.
was considered to be. So in New Brunswick, you cannot smoke marijuana in public.
Yeah.
If you're a busted smoking marijuana in public and you're an RPAL holder, you can expect a visit
where they can legally walk in and search your home.
and take your
Well,
guns.
So
Well, they don't need any legal. There's no legal statute that says they can come to my home other than they can. They don't need any
They don't need a
suspicion.
warrant.
Right. Yeah.
They could come to my home tomorrow, and I
Have to
have
let
not popped. Like
Yeah.
they could just
so
decide. Oh, well, I'm gonna inspect Jeremy Rattray stuff and make sure he's all kosher, right?
for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Just that
There's
they felt like
reasons that are going to get them there, of course, but they could just do a random. I don't know, pull my name out of a hat or something and decide because I'm an
It
art.
just happened to be in Woodstock one weekend, so well, let's go drop into some people.
Yeah, so they're probably going
Yeah.
to show up after I do this, right?
but if you're
Next week sometime. Say,
but
"What
if
the
you're
fuck, man?"
following
Let us know. We'll film.
Then you can have like the programmers are listening.
Yeah.
There'll be no guns in the closet, just like one of us.
if he sends a message to us and goes, "You fuckers,
That's
why
what
the hell did you
programmers
have
are
me on
listening
your
to.
show?"
You're looking at a concealed weapon right here.
Very well concealed, my friend.
Sometimes.
Barrel
maybe
length's
not
way
now.
too short.
I'm so
So-
glad you put pants on, by the way.
I did it for you.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, so I'm going to play the advocate here, even though I personally have a feeling toward this. So I'll give a little background before I jump on you.
Okay.
I don't own a firearm at all. I would like to at some point in my life, probably. I was introduced by a couple of people that you probably have shot with in the past, and took me to the range. I fired VZs and 9mm pistols and a few other toys that they have. I call them toys. I mean, they don't treat them like toys, but in the end result, that the infatuation with it is very much the same as what I would see a musical instrument or something in my life. And up until that point, I was like, well, why do people need to own this stuff anyway? But after that, I got it. I totally got it. I understand why you would want to.
Yeah.
Because if you're not looking at it like a weapon, and you
It's-
look at it as a sport, an
It's
event
fun.
thing that you do, it's fun.
Yeah.
So apart from that, or even including that, when someone says that, why do you need to own that anyway? Statement. How do you respond to that?
Well, I haven't been asked very many times, but the odd time I have been asked, why do you need to? I answer them quite honestly. I don't need to own it. I want to.
Right.
Yeah, why do you need to own that 500 horsepower Charger?
And
It's killing more people than guns.
But its intention is that's not what it's built for.
The 500 horsepower is.
Unless it's Christine from Christine.
Yeah. Totally different.
They're- guns are created for one purpose and one purpose only. To put
Hunting.
To put a cartridge in and fire a bullet at the other end. You don't use them
Right.
for boat paddles. You don't use them for
Right.
baseball bats.
Right.
They're intended for one purpose.
Yeah,
They are
kinda like
dangerous.
cars.
They are dangerous in the wrong hands. Yes, but a car is meant to take me to work, to take me to
Right.
the
A gun can take you to work.
supermarket,
You can do that.
A
at
car
100
doesn't
horsepower.
kill someone by serving its purpose.
Yes, it does all the time.
How?
You get into accidents serving its purpose. of
That
taking you
a
to work.
car getting into an accident is not a car serving its purpose. A gun firing a bullet is a gun serving its purpose.
But a gun killing a person.
But you
is
don't
not
have.
killing
But
its purpose.
that's just it. You're assuming that every gun is going to be fired at a person.
no,
and that's
not,
not-
I didn't say person.
That's not how it is.
I didn't
Yes,
say-
a firearm is designed to fire a bullet. You
Right.
can't argue that it's not true.
No.
It is true.
Right.
Car is designed to drive down the road.
Exactly.
A knife is designed to
When it's
cut
used
your
improperly,
shitty
people
turkey
die.
bacon or whatever the hell it was you were eating. You know, but it's the wielder of that device that's
The fuck is wrong with my bacon? Sorry, I had to.
but it's the wielder of that device that's the problem. I mean, a gun sitting on a patio, loaded and ready to shoot, isn't gonna probably shoot anyone unless someone picks it up. And
It's way more dangerous sitting there loaded than the car driving down the street.
sure,
Statistically not true.
It's just sitting there completely loaded and anybody can pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not anyone can get control of that car in that moment.
right.
Tell that to
exactly.
toddlers that accidentally put standard vehicles into drive. Or
I did that.
Okay, well, show me one and I will.
Right.
Ryan.
I did that.
The
Put a
point
car in
is,
drive as a toddler and went
Yeah.
for a ride. It's a good time.
the
Right on,
point
me
is,
too.
if you use something improperly, it can kill people.
Sure.
Okay, so let's put things into perspective. A weapon can kill people if used improperly.
Sure.
So can cars. Cars kill more people than guns.
That's a bullshit. That's a bullshit argument. Sorry.
Both need to be regulated.
That's-
But if you take one away because it can kill people, then you need to take other things away because it can kill people. That alone is not a good enough reason.
nah,
Hammers
bullshit.
can kill people. Screwdrivers can
Knives kill people.
Knives
and it
can
is
kill
made
people.
to cut things.
Yeah.
So we better get rid of that too.
Yeah, you're right. We should
Well-
get rid of knives.
Well, they're trying to in Britain.
Are they?
Yeah, Britain is
I think
very
we hit
not to
nerve.
slide off Canada, but
Well, I mean, I
I don't
knew
want
that,
to talk about other
I
countries.
knew that
so.
eventually we were going to go to cars. I knew that was going to come up tonight.
That's the oldest argument, and I don't generally use it.
yeah,
right?
It's because
I
it's
kinda-
ridiculous.
Is it because it's a dumb argument, Jeremy?
No,
Yeah.
I see the
the reason?
I see the analogy, and I agree with it to a degree, but that argument doesn't work. It doesn't work.
right,
The
exactly,
car was
because
used
you
to
can take
Run
car out
down
of that.
people in the last, what was it, the Antifa thing down in the States.
Yeah.
A vehicle was used to gun down people.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's-
to gun them down.
Exactly.
The
Well,
guy must have had a gun out the window.
I used it on purpose.
You got this far in and there's a laugh. Please stay with us.
He could have also used the word mow them down.
But the thing is, something used improperly can kill people.
Right, but you can swap out car for anything on this planet that exists, including the tree in his front yard, the rocks, like the clubs, the baseball clubs. You can take anything, but
Unprotected
they're
sex.
not designed with the purpose and what a rifle is designed for. And this is coming from somebody who I think that's strict enough. I don't think we need to go any stricter either. I'm not against him owning weapons, but I think it should be that restrictive. I don't think it should be easy to own firearms.
No one's saying it should be easy.
Okay, first question I have: has there been an increase since the Gun Act or the Firearms Act rewritten? Is there an increase in gun violence per capita in Canada? Canada specifically.
Okay.
I can't answer that like through a stat.
We
like,
need to
type
Google
of-
home on this show.
But
Oh, yeah, definitely.
but I
He's too busy watching hockey.
Yeah.
But what I can say is we don't really have a gun crime problem in Canada. I do know that like what Stats Canada considers violent crime, only 3% of that is gun related nationwide. Right? And the bulk of our violent crime is gang related in regards to gun violence.
Criminal
So
gun and gang violence in Canada.
So,
So
like-
they would be using illegal firearms.
and exactly. So tightening the noose on
Legal on
me, and that's what the Liberals want to do. They're saying we're gonna like Actually, I wrote it down.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the liberals doing? Because we've attacked the liberals a few times and we haven't said what they're actually trying to change.
Did we
So,
put a gun at them though?
The liberal policy, like the liberal, like virtue signaling or however you want to say it, they like to say we're going to do this when it's already being done, and they do that a lot in regards to firearms. So, like one of the ones is we will prevent people suspected of posing a danger to themselves or others, including their partners or kids, from possessing or acquiring a firearm.
It's already
And
part
that's
of
already
It's already.
So
Right.
they're using it as a like, we're
gonna put speed limits on the highways.
We're anti-violence.
We're gonna like make it more difficult, and basically they're just rewording something that already exists.
right. So it's not the changes
Like
that they're going to not changes they're saying they're going to implement. They're just taking credit for changes that have been done years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or saying that it's not being done now and we're gonna start doing it. That's really what they're saying. This isn't being done now, so we're gonna start doing it. Another one is we require everyone importing ammunition to provide proof of valid firearms license. You have to provide proof now to
You
import or
can't
buy
just go
fire.
into the store and buy ammo.
No.
So I have a question then. Why wouldn't a gun owner vote for the liberals? Because they're not going to make any changes.
They
I think the biggest contingency they had is the assault style weapon statement was the one that
that's a big one, yeah, because there is no legal definition for military assault style weapon. Is that the word? Military
think so,
style
yeah.
assault rifle? There's
So,
no legal definition. To this.
M16s.
You can't buy one anyway.
That's an assault rifle.
Yeah.
That's
So is that
for
what
the
they're-
military.
No, but is that what they're referencing though? Is that
No,
style?
Well, they
no, okay.
he
no.
has said that that has yet to be determined.
He's
Oh,
only
okay.
named one rifle, the AR-15. We're going to ban military-style assault weapons, including the AR-15.
So tell
That's
us
the
about
only one he's named.
Tell us about the AR-15, please, Jeremy.
The AR-15 is a semi-automatic 223,
Okay.
which functions identically to hundreds of other semi-automatic 223s that are currently legal to own in Canada, some being restricted, some being non-restricted.
And semi-automatic.
It means when you pull the trigger, a bullet flies out. You pull the trigger again, another bullet
Okay.
flies out.
to a limit of how many?
5. That's the
Maximum?
center fire rifles in Canada can only have a maximum of 5 cartridges in the magazine.
Okay. And are they saying they're looking to ban that as well as others like that?
They're only naming the AR-15,
Okay.
and they're saying as well as others to later be named. So, and they're also they've set aside so many $100 million as a buyback program,
Right.
and they're going to pay legal market fair market value is what they're claiming.
But the AR-15, Trudeau has publicly said, has been involved in every mass shooting in Canada.
It's never been involved in a mass shooting in
I was
Canada.
going to say, is that true?
It's not true.
That's what Trudeau said.
It's not true. He hasn't said it exactly like that. He kind of implied it. He did say it was involved in Polytechnic, the one that got Canada on this new path to firearms regulations. It was Polytechnic.
And was it?
No, it was a Ruger Mini 14, which is a 223 semi-automatic firearm like the AR-15,
Okay.
but it is not a restricted firearm. The AR-15 is.
Is it not a restricted?
The Ruger Mini 14 is not restricted in Canada right now.
It doesn't.
So anyone with a PAL
Yeah.
could get one.
it
Go
doesn't-
buy the weapon that was used in Polytechnic Massacre.
Okay.
It doesn't look as scary as
Firearm.
AR-15.
That's the problem. It doesn't
And-
look scary.
And to anyone that doesn't know about firearms in the least little bit,
Me.
well, I shouldn't say you, but I mean a majority, like when you're discussing it with people who are completely out of the element at all about firearms and have no interest in it, when you say anything about firearms and tightening regulations, everyone always pivots to the AR-15. It's become the synonymous, almost the hated black horse of the whole argument.
It has been used in the States.
In the States, but
Correct.
in the States they don't have limited.
It's not the favorite in the States. I
No,
don't want to
but-
really get into the States because it's a completely different place.
They don't have the
we're
restrictions.
gonna,
But most
because I got a question.
but
We ain't
most
done till I
mass
ask it.
shootings are pistols
Right, and
because they're the easiest to.
And the other
contain.
thing I'll say in the
Right?
States is the fact that they don't have the magazine restriction capacities.
Not every state.
No,
now,
exactly.
states are funny, right? And again, I don't want to talk about the states very much because I'm not an American, and I'm, anyways, a lot of politicians like to reference the states as a problem, and Trudeau being one of them. Oh, well, in the States, this is going on, that's going on. Well, we don't live in the United States. We live in Canada, and that's not going on here. And heaven forbid it ever does, and I hope it never does. But, you know, it's not going on.
Because he's getting raided.
Okay, Brent, you said you had a question before this gets over, and we're getting at that time.
Okay. We are going to talk about the states. I just want to get one question out, and maybe you don't have an answer, whatever. When you look at the deaths per capita, when you spec it out and say, okay, if we had the same population as the States does, their gun violence is higher than every other country on the planet. They're the ones that hold the record for the most mass shootings in the run of a year and all that type of stuff. Those statistics are out there that
I can't confirm or deny that. I don't believe they are.
I'm not looking for confirm or deny. I'm stating that to get to my question. We'll assume that is the case, that even if it's just a few more than us per capita, what is the answer for that country?
For America?
They do have a gun violence problem, because you do hear there was another mass shooting in the United States.
It's a social economic problem. It's a social economic problem. Like, gun violence is going on in urban centers where young kids don't have any other option but to get involved in a gang.
Okay.
And it's the same thing in Canada. Like, most of our gun violence revolves around gang violence.
So the shift for somebody going into an election should be, we're not going to go after the legal gun owners. We're going to attack the root of the problem, which is we need to clean up the inner cities. We need to clean up the gangs. We need to fix what's wrong with the areas in our country that cause communities to slide into this particular.
That'd be a good start.
These school shootings aren't happening in inner city areas. Sandy Hook.
Yes, but that's another. That's another.
I think that's an
topic.
equally that's still an issue though.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you know, and I don't know. I mean, I don't. The states. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Sure.
You know, but
Yeah,
I
come
do
on,
know
random
that most.
Canadian dude. Why can't you solve America's gun problem?
Most of these mass shootings are done by disenfranchised young people that are heavily medicated, and heavily medicated for anti-psychs. You know, that's a common theme. So
it's Big Pharma. We're back to that again.
Absolutely.
All right,
It's
cool.
nature versus nurture.
Jolly Green Giant can
They've nurtured them with pills, and then they
But
so
even-
guns don't kill people, pills kill people.
But even like you guys, like us talking about it, it always comes back to America.
Well, they're the ones that have the biggest problem.
But we're not in America.
They're the Hitler
I know.
like they're an excellent example.
Yeah.
Like, not that they're like Hitler, but Hitler's an excellent example when you're
Of a
talking
dictator,
about
yeah.
a dictator. So
And when that happens in your neighbor's backyard, people in this country get scared because they're waiting for it to happen here.
Yeah.
It's a spin-off effect.
And most of the illegal guns that the gangs are using down in the inner cities in Montreal and Toronto and Quebec and Vancouver are coming from the States.
There you go.
most spin-offs
So
don't
our problem
amount
is
to
the
much.
United States.
Yeah, the illegal gun import.
Yeah,
Right?
Joe-
I wish they'd hurry up and make America great
Because,
again.
like, based on the fact that how difficult it is for me to buy a rifle, I'm going to be damn sure that my rifle isn't going to slip out of my home.
No, plus the fact that you paid like good money for it, like hundreds and
Yeah, but
hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
that's like a
Oh,
secondary.
he stole
for
it
me.
like everybody
That's-
else.
No,
That's totally
I want his
secondary.
wife to watch this episode and see
That's
how much
totally-
money he spent on his guns.
That's totally secondary
I'm
because
outing him.
that rifle leaves my home, especially if it's a restricted rifle that's tied to me electronically on paper. I'm responsible for anything that happens.
They can take it from your cold dead hand.
Well, no, they'll arrest me and take me to
No, if
jail.
somebody comes to steal your guns, what I'm saying. Somebody comes in your
No,
house.
You're
Yeah.
like Charlton Heston.
If someone comes to try to steal my guns, good luck. I'm not going to get to them before them, but they're behind multiple locked doors and in a safe that weighs more than the Jolly Green Giant there, and so good luck.
Big Farmer.
I do got one question for you, though, Jeremy. So you're going to the firing range. do you have to call the RCMP or anyone to say that you're transporting one of your restricted guns from point A to point B?
No, because you've got an authorization to transport certificate that gives you the ability to take that to any authorized firing range in New Brunswick.
Okay.
If you're going out of your normal route, you would need to inform them, and you might need to get a temporary ATT.
Yeah, direct route only. You
Okay.
can't stop at the grocery store.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to ask. Not the grocery store, but say you're going from point A to point B. Point A being home, point B being the firing range. Say you happen to speed, they pull you over.
Do you have to tell them that you have a gun in the car?
Is that the first thing you have to say?
Well, yes, you would want to divulge that,
Yeah.
even if they don't ask you.
No.
Yeah.
And it has to be in the trunk.
No.
No. Okay.
No, dead bodies only in the trunk.
No.
Wait a minute. It doesn't have to be in the trunk?
No.
Because if I go to the liquor store, I have to put my liquor in the trunk.
If it's say a pistol, it has to be an opaque, or an AR. A restricted firearm has to be in a container you can't see through that's not easily broken into.
Okay. But you can have it in the back seat.
But a rifle, it could be right beside you,
Bastards.
as long as it's unloaded.
There's more restrictions on alcohol than there are gun.
Well,
Alcohol
not
kills
too-
more people.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
High five!